Hello. So I'm going to be talking about chapter 3. So in this chapter, we kind of saw Pylon struggle with paying his rent. It was never really because he didn't have the money. He would have the money, but then he wouldn't use it to pay rent. And so he just never ended up paying back his rent. And yeah, I kind of saw this as an internal struggle between going back and forth and doing what's right for himself and to satisfy his own needs versus doing what's best for those around him and doing what is right for those around him as well, which in this case would be paying back his rent to Danny, since the money is rightfully Danny's. And then taking that idea and relating it to the passions, I kind of thought of the idea of greed. He is thinking selfishly and thinking for himself and spending his money on himself, and that kind of shows this idea of greed. And in order to help him kind of overcome that and in the end get him to pay his rent and all that jazz, I thought of the idea of Buddhism and reaching nirvana and having this kind of end goal of something bigger might be helpful. Kind of along those same lines, the idea of essentialism, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm just kind of going for it at this point, could also help. In essentialism, kind of the means justify the ends, and so like a person knows the consequences of their action and knows that it is up to them to pay those consequences. So kind of understanding, like, if you kill someone and get caught, you are going to go to jail, and like that is something that has to happen, and like knowing that would be the result and understanding that. I think this would also help in the sense of kind of legality terms, I guess, not paying your rent, you need to get evicted, and thinking logically. I picked these two because I think Buddhism and existentialism are kind of intertwined in the sense of doing what's right and this idea of karma of what you do in one life affects you in another life. And it's kind of the same thing in existentialism. What you do, your actions generate your consequences, and it's your job to pay for that. And I kind of look at that as karma in some way. Again, that could just be like totally me. And I guess what a question for you is like, what tradition or religion or what term you want to call it do you kind of relate to existentialism? And then in turn, what do you kind of relate to Buddhism? How do you see overlapping between these? I think it's really interesting to kind of look for those similarities and think about the inspirations behind it, and if there is some of Buddhism and existentialism or Hinduism, whatever you want it to be, why do they, what similarities between these two concepts intertwine them? Kind of, I guess, I don't know, challenge me. I want to hear what other people have to say. What theme do you see? What kind of do you think is going on? What religion idea do you think would help? What system do you think would help? I don't know. I think there's a lot of places to go with this topic and like this idea of greed and how to overcome it, and I think it's interesting to hear other people's opinions. So I guess my main question for you and what I want to hear is, how do you see what do you see? What different idea do you have than mine to help overcome these? I think would be interesting. And so that's chapter 3.